I wanted to show you guys how you can use one of the actions that I included in that big zip file that I posted for you guys. It's got fixers in it and some videos and stuff, but under the fixers action set, it's got an action called Paint with Light. I use it pretty often. I wouldn't typically use it on this picture, but I already have this one open in Photoshop, so I'm going to just show you how to use the action on this picture. I hope you can hear me well. My 3-year-old is camped out in the chair with me watching Ninja Turtle videos on YouTube, so if you hear weird noises in the background, that's what's going on, and I don't have the heart to move him, so I'm going to try to talk over his video. But I've revamped my actions so that I can sell the entire set on Etsy. So it looks a little different here than it does, this particular action does on the file that I shared with you guys in the group. And if you don't see that file, I'm going to repost the link to the zip file, but I'll also upload this action by itself to the group so that you can find it easier. But the one that I included for you guys in the group is Paint with Light, and it's actually the one that's for skin, and I'll show you how to use it. So it's really, really simple. When you play the action, you get this little layer here that's just got a gray thumbnail, and you're going to paint with that highlighted, and you'll use either white or black, and when you paint with white you're creating highlights, and when you paint with black you're creating shadows. So with the white selected, I use like a 10% opacity brush. It's got to be really, really subtle because this effect is a little powerful, and I prefer to paint it on slowly so that I can see the effect it's having without it becoming too intense. And I keep my brush at 0% hardness. And then wherever the light is hitting the face of your subject or their clothes or anything like that, I'm just going to paint over it to enhance it. And I go over it a few times, which is why I've got it set at 10%. So I'm not really creating light anywhere that it doesn't already exist. I'm just adding and enhancing the light that's there. So that's how I would paint on their face, just enhancing the areas. And Melanie had, I think, no, it wasn't Melanie, Elena mentioned, asked how I made my son look plastic in the little picture where he's making a sock in a box. And really it just boils down to enhancing the highlights and shadows. And of course you wouldn't always want to make things look plastic, but I think it adds like a kind of a magical feel when the highlights and shadows are enhanced but not too much contrast. So I've just lightly painted over their skin, and it's not even obvious until you hide the layer and then bring it back. So it's got a pop of light. And then if you're going to do it on their clothes, usually I'll come up to maybe 15% on clothing. And then the same thing, just going over the areas where it's already got light to enhance that. And being really subtle with it is going to make a huge difference. And it's going to be something that when people see the image, they shouldn't be able to immediately understand what you did to make it look like that. They should just be able to look at your image and think, wow, that's really luminous, you know? So you don't want it to be obvious that you painted light on. You just want it to enhance what's there. So there's just some quick highlights. And then to do shadows, these are even more intense, and if you use too high of an opacity, you might even change the colors in the shadows, which you don't want to do. You don't want them to end up looking red or orange or affect the actual tone of the shadows. So you have to be kind of subtle with the shadows. And if you ever make a stroke that's too intense, with this you could do a layer mask and paint it off, but then you're going to paint off the highlights that you made too. That's the tough part of this. So one thing that you can do is go to your brush and pick as close to a neutral gray as possible and paint over what you did. You can use 100% opacity, or you can just undo, Control Alt Z what you did, but don't layer mask it off or erase what you've done if you don't like what you did. Then you can go on to the close and enhance the shadows. And don't do too much. It's not going to look like you're accomplishing very much as you do it, but it'll be more obvious when you hide and then reveal what you do so you can see the before and after. That's when you'll really be able to see the difference in the pop. So this is with it, and this is before it. Before, after. It kind of makes it look a little 3D, and now I'm kind of glad I did it to this image because I like it more now. So you're really making it pop out. So let me know if you have any questions about how to use this. One thing you can do if it's not giving you the results that you want, and what I also do if I'm painting highlights and shadows on hair to make it look like it's got more depth, I'll change the blending mode to overlay, and that intensifies it a lot, as you can see on their face. So I don't like to use overlay on their skin, but if I make another layer and use it for hair or even clothes or the background to paint on highlights, I'll have it at overlay. But for skin, I use soft light because it's not as intense. Okie doke. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll get this action uploaded for you for Paint with Light.